And so, just like in the first game, Corvo wakes up to find he's in a very different place.
Something's not right, but it seems familiar somehow.
Seems like the outsider doesn't want to leave him alone.
I remember this endless cold.
There's no exact details told of how exactly Delilah just managed to strip the mark of the outsider away from Corvo completely. Really what it works out to be is a way of game mechanics making it so that Corvo can start all over from scratch.
Might as well show yourself.
And here he is.
Corvo, old friend. Do I even have to say it? You've lost another Empress. Delilah was born a pawn, but now she's got the throne. 15 years ago, the assassin Dowd could have warned you about her if you'd bothered to ask, but you were too busy for questions. Times have changed, Corvo, and you haven't been watching the dark corners of the world. Maybe living in a palace has made you soft. What happens when you push a man farther than he ever thought he could go? Does he snap? And what happens when he tries to go home? Maybe you'll finally learn what it feels like to kill an Empress. Dowd could have told you about that, too.
Of course we're gonna accept the mark.
I felt this so long ago. The void. It was still there all along.
So now I have the blink power.
I thought I'd be here again.
And it is just as awesome as ever.
Feels as good as I remember.
Couldn't have put it better myself, Corvo. You notice Outsider basically talks to Corvo a little bit differently than he does to Emily.
Save my daughter and win back her throne.
It's almost this sort of teasing relationship. And he just started off with saying, old friend. After all, they've done this dance once before. Outsider's motivations never really made clear. In fact, in Dishonored 2 is the only real time you feel like he really wants something. He actually expresses the fact that he doesn't like Delilah. And here's the heart.
I know you. Do you remember? It's been so long, and you've been through so much. Even as an echo of myself, it's good to know you're there.
Jessamine, if all I can hear are the last echoes of your voice, that's enough.
Only the last of my essence, with you for a while. If only I could reach across this great expanse and take you into my arms. But I have this to offer. My gift and my curse. Summon me to your hand, and I will guide you when I can.
And we have the heart. In the first game, the voice was the same, and you could sort of figure out on your own that it was Jessamine's heart. But in Dishonored 2, it's made much more open, because, of course, they have more of a plot point based on it. The dialogue she does here in the Void is 90% the same as it is for Emily, so I don't feel very guilty talking over it. One of the things I didn't do much in the playthrough, or will I do in this one, is walking around using the heart all the time everywhere to listen to everything. She has many new lines to say for every area, and you can, of course, use the heart on certain people to hear a lot of their backstory. You can do it on major characters and minor characters alike. It's a great mechanic, but it doesn't usually make for exciting gameplay for me just standing there listening.
Who is Delilah, really? Jessamine's sister? Bearing the outsider's mark.
I remember the last day I saw you, out behind the tower. She carries your lessons within her. Mine as well. My heart is made of muscle and sinew, but metal and glass as well. And other things.
And that's the last thing she says in the void. So we'll go pick up our first 2 runes. And have a final chat with the outsider.
There's no one quite like Delilah. I watched her pull herself up from blood and filth, until she was in a position to steal from the wisest scholars in the Empire. Survival and ambition, art and magic, with a cunning that makes fawning sycophants of those around her, all of it leading to what you saw at Dunwall Tower. Delilah's playing the long game. She took all the abuse the world could deal out, and now she has a crown. But I'll let you in on a secret. She's got her eyes set on a much greater prize.
Maybe I got lazy. Fell asleep at my post. Somehow everything I love is at risk. Again. Last time I saw Karnaca, I was just 18, boarding a ship bound for Dunwall. It was dawn and I'd been up all night dancing 3 sheets to the wind. I was puffed up with the old Duke's favor, and I thought I was the greatest swordsman the Isles had ever known. For over 3 decades, I've lived in a palace, watching over the people I love. I've had an empress die in my arms, and raised another from birth. Who would have thought I'd come back home, the most wanted man in the Isles, following the trail of a monstrous killer? What would that 18-year-old think of me now?
I quite like Corvo's monologues and inner dialogue between mission. They have a different tone and feel to them as opposed to Emily's, which makes sense. We even have a letter here that he means to give to Alexei Mayhew's parents. The travelogue, it's updated more often than you'd think, but mainly between missions you can notice it. So as you see here, this is Corvo's travelogue as opposed to Emily's, so it's a little bit different, but it's mostly talking about the same thing. The general idea is the anniversary of Disamine's death, and then everything happens that happens. And then Dishonored. The Witch Delilah, the most powerful magic I've ever seen. Really, the only thing that can come close would possibly be Corvo going up against Doubt. And they did have, if you decided to, you could have a pretty awesome battle against Doubt. But if you played it low chaos, you probably just snuck right past him. It was pretty cool. Because in the end, if you have the powers of the outsider, most likely you're not going to have any problems dealing with normal men or women. The real difficulty in this game comes from the robots or witches or Delilah and that sort of thing. Because with these powers, you're just on an entirely different level. Which of course doesn't mean the game is easy. And here's the crossbow and a letter from Megan, which is the same as it gives to Emily. And it basically lets us know we need to start checking out the black markets. You don't really get anything from all of these little quests that involve fixing up the ship or whatever. This first one you do, because you get to enter the little place where you get some stuff, so I'm gonna do that immediately. Let's right around the side and drop down into this little side entrance. you just find some copper wire, but there is also a mana potion, a book, a bunch of Anton Sokolov stuff, and the incendiary bolts, which can definitely be useful.
Must be cursed. Daft old man, this is some shit. Back to that city. What would we have done in the old days? All sharp metal and shadows, we'd say.
Time to get our mission briefing.
You're up. When you're ready to talk, I'll tell you what I know.
All right, you've explained part of it. What were you and Sokolov doing here?
The old man loved Karnaca, but he'd caught wind of a conspiracy tied to the Crown Killer. He wanted to warn you.
There were reports about tensions rising. Corruption, street violence. It's the sort of thing that happens, and usually the local authorities resolve it.
The new Duke has let things slide. But Sokolov concluded he might be the head of the conspiracy. He came in looking shocked, and if you've heard his after-dinner stories, you know that's unusual. We were going to set out for Dunwall, but something happened.
The Crown Killer.
Yes, the hatch ripped open and Sokolov screamed. All I caught was a glimpse of someone carrying him across the deck. I followed as long as I could, toward Addermeyer Institute. It's run by the alchemist Hypatia. Maybe the Duke is using a patient of hers, the Crown Killer.
Addermeyer was a solarium years ago. I'll get inside and eliminate the Crown Killer. Maybe the alchemist will cooperate, maybe she won't. Either way, I'll try to figure out what happened to Sokolov, too.
I would say good luck, but I don't think you want my luck. When you get done at the Institute, disable the watchtower. Once it's down, I'll bring the boat around. We'll take the skiff to the shore when you're ready.
Mortimer Ramsey, the entitled son of entitled parents. The Duke's coup relied on a weasel like you. Before I leave Serkonos, Duke Luca Abel and I are going to meet face to face, and he'll pay for all this. Delilah's powerful. How is it possible I haven't crossed her path in all these years? Addermeyer Institute's been there for a long time, but Hypatia wasn't around when I lived in Karnaca. As assassins go, the Crown Killer was messy, vulgar. The Duke wanted people afraid. Sokolov always seemed ageless. Not now. With that watchtower, the only way to get to Addermeyer is through the carriage station. The jewel of the South. My homeland.
There's a few minor items on this ship, but the only real important thing you need to get here is the rune. That puts us at a total of 3. Soon enough we're gonna decide what to use our first runes on. I'm pretty set in my ways, but we'll talk about it when it's time. New travelogue entry. This would be the section on Megan Foster, and generally the plan of what to do next. But it's time to go.
Ready for me to drop you at the docks?
Ready. The old city must have changed a lot.
Off we go then.
One more time, old friend.
Off to the city of Karnaca.